Nerdinas. So in this video, we will be building the circuit for our motor. So when you press a switch, the motor will spin, and when you don't press a switch, the motor will not spin. And we'll be going over all of the components and the connections that you will need for the circuit, as well as the program that you will be writing in MPLab. And motors are really useful because almost any device with moving parts has a motor, so this experiment will give you insight into how motors work.
The next experiment is a motor, so when I press the switch right here, the motor will spin and otherwise it will not. So I have just run the program. So you can probably hear the motor spinning right now. And now I've switched it off. For this experiment, you'll need a new IC. So this is the IC right here, and it's called L293D. And once again, I'm going to recommend that you print out a data sheet. So this is what the data sheet looks like right here. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is connect a wire between pins 8 and 16 because these are the two power supply pins, and then you're going to want to have another wire that connects to the power supply pin on the regulator. The other thing that you're going to want to do is 4, 5, 12, and 13. These 4 pins are ground. So once again, you're going to want to make sure that these pins are ultimately going to the voltage regulator's ground, and you're going to shot together those 4 pins. So in terms of the components that you'll need, the next thing that you're going to want to do, once you have this, you're going to want to look at your circuit diagram, and the motor IC is right here. So you're going to want to make the necessary connections to the microcontroller and the motor. So you're going to take your motor IC and you're going to connect pins 16 and 8 to a power supply. You're going to connect pins 4, 5, 12, and 13 to ground. And then you're going to connect pins 2 to pin 21 and pin 3 to your motor. So once you've connected pin 3 to one side of your motor, you're going to want to connect the other side of the motor to ground, which is pins 4, 5, 12, and 13 on the motor IC, and then eventually get ground back to the ground on the voltage regulator. So you can see those connections right here on the right side of the circuit. The next thing that you're going to want to do, the motor experiment, when you press a switch, a motor starts turning, and when you release the switch, the motor doesn't turn. So of course, the next thing that you're going to want to have is a switch. So this right here is a switch. You're going to want to make sure to connect one side of the switch to a resistor and then to pin 33 on the microcontroller, and you're going to want to connect the other side of the switch to ground. So that's once again the common ground that I've been referring to. And you can see this switch right here on the diagram. So just follow this diagram. This goes to pin 33 and then the other side goes to ground. And now let's go over the program for the motor. So the motor right here has an input and an output. So for the input, we're looking at tris B, and looking at the B pins, you can see we're looking at tris B and tris D. So the B register is right here, and our switch is connected to RB0/int, which stands for input. So RB0, so we're defining the 33rd pin that the switch is connected to as input, and then we're defining tris D as output, and our motor is connected, and our motor IC is connected to pin 22, and if we look at pin 22 is RD3, so we're defining RD3 as where the output is coming out of. So this code, essentially, it says this while loop is so it's there's a continuous checking of whether the switch is being pressed. And this loop is saying if RB0 equal to 0, so RB0 is where the switch is connected. So if RB0 is pressed, then RD2 is 1. So if RB0 is pressed, then the motor IC should spin, and if RB0, and if the switch is not pressed, then the motor should not spin.
Okay, Nerdinas, so that's it for the motor experiment. Hopefully you have the experiment working and running, and I will see you in our next video with the third experiment. From each Nerdina to all Nerdinas. Adios.